morning and welcome to Snow City News. On Saturday, we were invited to the Antique Automobile Club of America's 2018 Annual Grand National Meet. The meet was hosted by the Western Pennsylvania Region of the AACA. The event was held at Pitt Greensburg, and around 500 antique vehicles were on display for judging. All vehicles eligible were required to have earned a senior award in 2017 to register. This was a competition of the best in antique automobiles.
Pat O'Neill.
Okay, so tell me about the car behind us.
It's a 1912 Buick Model 35, four-cylinder. Bought the car in boxes in 2006. It took 3 years to restore it, and we've been pretty much driving it ever since and showing it a little bit every now and then, but just enjoying the car. It's a fun car to drive.
1957 Carmen Ghia. It's the second year that they made them. They made this style 4 years, and they call them low lights. They're Carmen Ghia low lights. Basically, the headlights are lower. If you look at the headlights, and the tail lights are smaller. But the car, it's a European delivery. Back in the day, they had car, you could buy them here and you save tax and whatever it is, you got a kind of a free trip to Europe. But she bought the car, the lady bought the car in Columbus, Ohio, and she flew over at the factory and picked it up because she was going to go to school in Paris for a year. And she drove it all over Europe for a year and then shipped it back to here. And I'm from Ohio, and shipped it back to Ohio, and it's been back here ever since. And I've been taking care of it for her. She's since passed away, but I knew about the car. I'm a Volkswagen freak anyway, but it's a neat car, neat to drive. It drives like a real car. It doesn't drive like a bug or a bus or whatever it is. But 36 horsepower. It only has like 38,000 miles on it, and it was in pretty good shape really for what it is. But it was definitely a saver.
Randy McMillan from Mansfield, Ohio.
Okay, so tell me about the car behind us.
It's a 1957 BMW Isetta. We pronounce it Isetta. In Germany, they pronounce it Isetta. They don't pronounce the I. But it's a cabriolet, only 2% of the BMW Isettas that came from Germany in the 50s had the half convertible top. They all have the sunroof. So this particular car is coral red, one of the factory colors. Here to be judged at the show, it has to be the correct color.
So what got you interested in this particular car?
We like micro cars that make people smile. We actually are not really, we like to come to the AACA events here, but mostly we are rally people. We go around the country, the eastern part of the United States, and go to rallies where you drive. It'd be like coming here, going to Pittsburgh, and hitting the high points around town. And with 15, 20, 30 unusual cars that make everybody smile. So that's kind of what we're about.
Bob McAnlis, Cleveland, Ohio, Pitt grad. This is a 1911 Locomobile, made in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Was at the high end of the scale for American autos at the time, about $5,000 when it was new, and a Model T was maybe $495. I got this in 1988, a little after I graduated from Pitt, and it was a big project and took me until 2 years ago to get it done. But these kind of cars were owned by Wanamakers, department store people, or Vanderbilts, or I'm very fortunate to have one today. So thanks for having us back here in Pittsburgh.
A 1903 Ford. It's the 11th production Ford that was built. It was sold new in Buffalo, New York to Dr. Welch, Welch's Grape Juice. Ford sold 15 cars in July of 1903. This is one of the 15 that they sold. This was the first Ford that was sold and registered in New York State. In fact, you can see the registration badge up there. It's 7403, which is Dr. Welch's number, and which matches the license plate in the back.
Jim Horn, and my father Ed Horn over here is the one who built the cargo body.
Okay, so tell us about it. Tell about this truck.
Okay, we were out in Auburn, Indiana back in 2005, and we saw a little advertisement up on the board that it was for sale. So we went out and looked at it and bought it, and it was a pile of lumber. And the parts were in 2 or 3 different places. One was in a garage, one was in an aircraft hangar, and the wood was in the backyard. And we didn't bother taking the wood for the truck because it wasn't the original wood. And we began in 2005 restoring it, and I started working on all the metal parts. My father built the cargo body. It's all made of wood. And we finished it 10 years later, 5,000 hours.
Kim Little, Lexington, Ohio.
Okay, can you tell me a little bit about the vehicle?
It's a 1928 Hupmobile E4, which was the 4th year of the E Series cars. And it was the last the early 4 months of 1928, and they stopped making the car. The public did not like it because they used too many of the older parts, and the other series of cars that they're building at the same time had newer, modern changes to the car, and this still looked like a 27. And so people stopped buying them, and they stopped making them after 4 months. So it's a unique car. We've been able to trace maybe as many as 8 left in the world.
Armida.
And Dennis Maneri.
Okay, so tell me about this beautiful car behind us.
Well, this beautiful car is a 1941 Cadillac 4-door convertible. 1941 was the last year for General Motors 4-door convertibles. This is one of 400 that were built in that year. We've owned the car for 14 years, 12 of which was a very painful guided nut and bolt restoration. Never started out to be that type of restoration, but it's what it turned into, and it's turned out very well. It's been more than a dream come true. We've had 10 national first prizes so far, and hoping to cap it off today with a senior grand national. But we had a lot of fun going around the country to national meets and meeting nice folks, and it's just been a wonderful experience. Couldn't have done it without the support of my wife.
Yeah, so tell me about the car. Like, what do you like most about the car?
Well, I love it with the top down, for sure. It's very spacious inside. The back seat is like sitting in your living room sofa. And we don't drive it much. It's a trailer queen for now, but this is, I think, the last win it can possibly win would be a Grand National.
We may start putting the top down and driving it around.
And driving it around, but it has been a trailer queen.
But it's a 28 Model A. Was built as a hose truck. There's no pump, no water on it. It was strictly used to haul a hose at the larger fire departments that had a water source back many, many years ago. And they laid hose from the hydrant to an engine that was fighting that fire. Because back in the 20s, or even the 30s, the trucks were small, and they couldn't haul all the equipment that they needed to haul. So that's when they come up with hose trucks. There was a lot of them built.
So what got you interested in this vehicle?
Well, I've been a fireman, excuse me, for 57 years, and I have 3 fire trucks. So I guess it's in my blood. I don't know. I guess it is.
Matt Petrus.
Okay, so tell me about the car, the MG.
So it's a 1959 MGA 1600. It was my dad's. He ground up restoration, pulled the full frame off, restored everything. Got its senior award a couple years ago. I inherited it, and now we're here for a Grand National.
Peter McManus, with my wife Joanne too. The car is the Ardent Alligator. It won the Watkins Glen Grand Prix in 1949 in the configuration and with the same type of engine that's in it now. I like vintage or older cars, sports car racing, and I like the Ford flathead particularly. We've got a couple of other flathead V8s, and this one appealed to me that way. It became available in the mid-1980s, and we bought it then, and we've been working on it and driving it ever since.
How much time do you think you've put into the car?
I've put, as I used to say on some of the other old cars, I spend more time under them than I do in them. So I wouldn't venture a guess as to what thousands of hours.
George Steele. I have a 1930 sedan, a special sedan. It's a 6-cylinder, 194 cubic inch motor.
David Brady from Emmaus, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Allentown, about 50 miles north of Philadelphia. And the car that we have here is a 1932 Buick 68C, which means it's a convertible Phaeton. It is one of 366 made in 1932, one of 6 known to exist, and this particular one here is the only one that has a rear-mounted spare tire, where the rest of the other 5 have spare tires in the front fenders. I came into possession of this car in 2003, where a gentleman came into my place of business and said that he'd like to sell the car because he has some health problems, and he was told that if anybody's going to buy the car, I should buy it because I'll restore it. We agreed on price, and we went out and we bought the car. The gentleman, before he had health problems, was going to make it into a street rod. He had the engine out, the transmission out, the rear end out, the steering column out. He was going to put a Chevy 350 in it with an automatic transmission and a different rear and all the other good stuff. So we got all the pieces we needed, and we took it all apart, put it all back together, and we did most of the work ourselves.
All right, we're here with
Howard Finney. I am the chief judge of this show. We had 504 cars to come in today. We had more, but we had some cancellation due to rain. The cars all come on a show field with 400 points, and then we deduct accordingly depending on the defects we find. The rule of thumb is that a car, we judge it as how it came from the factory, as delivered by the dealer, with factory-approved accessories. We do not, we judge for workmanship, authenticity, and originality, of course, because if a car has to be as original as it came from the factory. There are classes. This show has, these cars have all won a previous senior award in a prior year. To qualify for a senior award, they got to score 375 points. But the kicker is they have to be within 5 points of the car that scores the highest. So if a car scores 400, they got to have 395 to get it. In this show, they come in, they're going for a Grand National First, Grand National Senior, or a repeat Grand National Senior.